Something strange is happening behind the walls of Prince Andrew's royal home. People are saying his garage is hiding secrets that could connect him to one of the biggest controversies of our time. It was something way more disturbing, something that connects directly to the darkest part of his life. Stay with us because what's hidden inside might just change everything you thought you knew about the disgraced prince. Prince Andrew's story starts in the grandness of Windsor Great Park inside the Royal Lodge, a huge mansion surrounded by trees and secrets. Once a beloved prince and an important royal figure, his days now happen in quiet loneliness. Once second in line to become king, he was seen as the brave one, the queen's favorite son. But those bright days ended fast. Reports say Andrew now spends most of his time in his private home, far from public events or royal ceremonies. A source said that he often watches TV in dimly lit rooms and only leaves home to ride horses from the royal stables near Windsor Castle. His life, once full of cameras and cheers, now moves at a slow and almost invisible pace. Royal Lodge itself tells its own story. The property sits deep in Windsor Great Park, protected and hidden from public view. It is grand and historic, yet strangely lonely like the man living inside it. Despite having his royal titles taken away and losing his public role, Andrew continues to live a life wrapped in privilege. He drives expensive cars, including a Range Rover with special lights once used for official duties. He also continues to enjoy private security, though his financial support from the royal family has reportedly been cut. In April 2025, photographers captured a rare glimpse of him driving out of Royal Lodge with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson after the tragic death of Virginia Giuffre, the woman whose accusations of abuse brought his downfall. The couple divorced years ago but remain close, sharing their two daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Those who know him say Andrew insists on staying at Royal Lodge, refusing to move into Frogmore Cottage despite King Charles cutting his allowance. He believes he can still pay for the mansion's expensive upkeep, but insiders doubt it will last. For the first time, the Queen's once favorite son must live within limits, his future uncertain. Behind the grand gates of Windsor, his life now feels like a long pause. The world outside has moved on. Yet Andrew remains in his private corner, surrounded by fading luxury and lingering shadows. Recently, the world's attention has turned toward Prince Andrew's mysterious garage at Royal Lodge. Rumors have started swirling that he might be hiding something big inside, secrets from his past that he would rather keep buried. Many believe this could be the real reason behind his refusal to leave the Windsor estate. Even as pressure builds and the royal family grows distant, the quiet mansion, once a place of comfort, has now become a fortress of mystery. But before we reveal what was found inside his garage, let's take a closer look at the prince's long, painful fall from grace. A journey from privilege and pride to loneliness and shame. Prince Andrew's career once looked like a shining example of royal duty and bravery. As the second son of Queen Elizabeth II, he entered the Royal Navy in 1979. Following in the footsteps of generations of royals who had served their country, the young prince trained as a helicopter pilot and quickly earned a reputation for courage. During the Falklands War in 1982, he flew multiple missions on the front lines, including dangerous decoy flights meant to draw enemy fire away from British ships. Those who served alongside him described him as confident, capable, and determined to prove himself as more than just a royal name. His actions in the South Atlantic earned him the respect of many within the military. After the war, Andrew continued to build his naval career. He rose through the ranks, eventually reaching the position of commander. His naval service lasted for 22 years before he retired in 2001. Even after stepping away from active duty, his ties to the armed forces remained strong. He was often seen attending military events, supporting veterans' charities, and holding honorary military titles across several branches of the armed forces. Once his naval career ended, Andrew turned toward royal and diplomatic duties. He took on the role of the United Kingdom's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment in 2001. In this job, he was supposed to promote British businesses abroad and build international relationships. He traveled frequently representing the UK at global summits, business conferences, and trade fairs. Many saw him as a valuable figure for British diplomacy, using his royal status to open doors that were otherwise hard to reach. For years, his calendar was filled with official events, meetings with world leaders, and events across the Commonwealth. It was during this time that Prince Andrew's personal circle began to draw attention. Among his friends was American financier Jeffrey Epstein. The two were first reported to have met in the late 1990s, introduced through mutual friends connected to high society in New York. Over the years, Andrew was seen at Epstein's fancy gatherings, attending dinners and social events alongside well-known figures from politics and business. Photos captured them together on several occasions, both in the United States and in the United Kingdom. According to some reports, they stayed in touch for many years, and Epstein was even invited to royal functions at one point. Their friendship, once considered just social, would later become the center of intense worldwide attention. The fallout from those connections was quick and devastating. By early 2020, as public criticism got stronger, the royal family made an unprecedented decision. Prince Andrew was stripped of his military connections and royal patronages. Charities cut ties and official events vanished from his schedule. His once respected titles, including honorary positions in the Royal Navy and other services, were removed. He was now a prince without a role, living in the shadow of his past. The royal who once represented Britain's pride on international stages had become a symbol of disgrace and regret. You'd be surprised by how massive his downfall was and how he ended up tangled in a storm of controversy. There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words. For Prince Andrew, that silence has grown heavier with each passing year. The long shadow of his connection with Jeffrey Epstein continues to follow him everywhere. Although Andrew publicly stated that he deeply regretted his poor judgment in keeping that friendship, the damage had already been done. The world saw the photos, read the reports, and began questioning what really went on behind the elegant front of royal life. Each revelation further darkened his reputation, leaving the public wondering if the prince, who once represented British honor, had become a symbol of its embarrassment. But Epstein was not the only issue haunting him. Reports came out about documents connected to Andrew's years as the UK's trade envoy mysteriously disappearing. Rumors suggested that these papers might have contained sensitive information about his business dealings and contacts. Though nothing was ever proven, the story added another layer to the growing mystery around him. What also came out were stories from those who had worked closest to him. In Tom Quinn's revealing book, Gilded Youth, palace staff described the Duke as rude, arrogant, and dismissive. They painted an image of a man who treated the people around him with little kindness or respect. According to one former staff member, Andrew would bark orders as if still living in a time when royalty ruled by command. Another recalled him throwing objects onto the floor and demanding they be picked up immediately. "He treated us like servants from another century," one insider told Quinn. Former Royal Protection Officer Paul Page also spoke out, describing Andrew as overbearing and verbally abusive during his time at the palace. Even his former bodyguard Ken Worf shared that his manners were terrible. The stories became part of a bigger picture of a man whose temper and entitlement pushed away those around him. One account even claimed that Andrew once dismissed a staff member simply because he disliked the man's appearance, while another was reportedly fired for wearing the wrong kind of tie. By 2019, Andrew's public standing had collapsed. He announced that he would step back from his royal duties for the foreseeable future, acknowledging that his connection with Epstein had become a distraction for the monarchy. Eventually, the prince who once moved in glittering circles lives behind the gates of Royal Lodge, where whispers of arrogance, scandal, and loneliness have replaced royal fanfare. His grand garage, once a place for polished Bentleys and sleek Range Rovers, now stands as a quiet witness to his downfall. Some say it holds more than just cars, that it holds secrets he has kept hidden from the world. Let's now step inside that garage and uncover what lies within. The place that everyone is suddenly talking about. When the heavy doors of Prince Andrew's garage were finally opened, what lay inside was more than just a collection of cars. It felt like stepping into a forgotten chapter of royal life. Dust floated in the air, and the silence was thick, broken only by the soft creak of hinges. There, hidden under tarps and time, sat vehicles that once represented prestige, status, and speed. Now they seemed like relics of a man whose life had shifted from royal glamour to quiet isolation. The first sight that caught everyone's eye was an Aston Martin Virage Volante, a classic from 1997. Once shining with royal elegance, it now stood like a memory of better days. Reports suggest this car was close to Andrew's heart, perhaps because his brother owned a similar model. It symbolized competition, pride, and the luxury of being a prince. But now it stood motionless, covered in a fine layer of dust, reflecting how the prince himself had stepped out of the public eye. In one corner, a Bentley Flying Spur rested beneath a tarp. Purchased in 2015 for around $180,000, it was sold a few years later when the financial and personal troubles began tightening around him. There was also the infamous Range Rover, the one fitted with blue emergency lights that once sparked outrage. Despite stepping back from royal duties, Andrew reportedly continued driving this 100,000-pound vehicle around Windsor for horse riding trips. Critics saw it as another example of his disregard for limits, a stubborn clinging to the privileges that his title once brought him. According to reports from The Sun, Andrew's car collection still includes several Land Rovers and another 80,000 British pound Range Rover Sport VHEV. Each car tells a different story, one of power, another of denial, and many of nostalgia. But the most striking part isn't what the cars are worth. It's what their silence says. Their engines haven't roared in years. Their tires, once rolling through royal estates, now sit flat and lifeless. Some say that hidden deeper inside the garage are a few vintage pieces, perhaps custom-made vehicles from the 1980s and 1990s, reminders of a time when Andrew was known for his charm and adventure. Back then, he was a naval officer, a helicopter pilot, and a royal bachelor who drew crowds wherever he went. The garage, with its faded grandeur, now mirrors the decline of that image. Each car represents something lost. The Aston Martin speaks of youth and pride. The Bentley whispers of power once held. The Range Rover, still occasionally driven, reflects the struggle to hold on to relevance. Together, they create a picture not of wealth, but of stillness. A life parked between past fame and present disgrace. Walking through that garage is like walking through Andrew's journey itself. Once admired, now watched with suspicion. Once in motion, now standing still. The collection, impressive yet quiet, tells a story of a prince who once sped through life, but now finds himself surrounded by symbols of what he can no longer escape, his own history. So, what does this hidden garage really reveal? Perhaps it is not just about the cars. Perhaps it is about a man who has lost his way, whose power and pride now sit like those engines waiting for a spark that may never come. Currently, Prince Andrew is living in the Royal Lodge stands deep within Windsor Great Park. It is a grand, ivy-covered mansion that stretches over acres of royal land. From the outside, it still looks majestic with sweeping lawns and high walls guarding it from curious eyes. Maintaining such a huge property is no small matter. The cost of heating, lighting, and staffing a place of that size runs into hundreds of thousands of pounds each year. Even though the property technically belongs to the Crown Estate, Prince Andrew has lived there since 2003 under a long lease. Reports suggest he paid around £1 million for a 75-year lease, which might seem fair, but the real issue lies in the constant upkeep. Security officers, gardeners, maintenance crews, and cleaners all add to the monthly bills. Despite stepping away from royal duties, Andrew continues to live a lifestyle that still echoes the privilege of his past. Financially, questions have been raised again and again. How does Prince Andrew maintain such a lifestyle after losing his official income? Since stepping back from royal duties in 2019, his public funding was cut off, yet he still enjoys the protection and comfort of royal privileges. There have been whispers about him receiving quiet support from family sources, possibly from the late Queen and later from King Charles in limited ways, but the full truth remains unclear. The future of Prince Andrew remains uncertain, wrapped in speculation, quiet negotiations, and fading hope. Though he no longer performs royal duties, his story has not faded from public curiosity. The settlement with Virginia Giuffre may have closed the legal chapter, but the damage to his reputation runs deep. Since stepping back from royal life in 2019, Andrew has watched his world shrink. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth stripped him of his royal and military titles, marking an end to his formal public life. Under King Charles, things have become even more difficult. Reports suggest that Andrew has been financially cut off and could soon lose his Windsor residence, the Grand Royal Lodge that has long served as his private fortress. Yet even in this quieter phase, Andrew seems unwilling to completely let go of the privileges that come with royalty. Despite his fall from grace, he still clings to his HRH title, which he can use privately. He has been seen hanging out with wealthy friends like billionaire Johann Eliasch, spotted at Harry's bar not long ago, enjoying the company of the elite while controversy continues to swirl around him. For someone once at the heart of royal life, this half-hidden existence seems both stubborn and sad. A man still reaching for pieces of a past that the world has already left behind. Royal experts paint a vivid picture of his current lifestyle. Nigel Cawthorne, author of Prince Andrew, Maxwell, Epstein, and the Palace, told The Sun that while Andrew is no longer a working royal, he still privately enjoys many of the same luxuries. He spends his days within the vast comfort of Royal Lodge, surrounded by horses, a private golf course, and the remnants of royal privilege. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, still living with him despite their long-ago divorce, adds another layer of strange normality to his withdrawn life. "He must bounce around in there with Fergie," Cawthorne remarked, describing the prince's quiet but comfortable existence inside the 30-room mansion. "He must have staff sweeping up after him there and arranging his teddy bears for him." That single image says a lot. Once a man of status, commanding ships and shaking hands at international events, Andrew now lives a life that feels oddly frozen in time.